ladies and gents, probably not the greatest of innovations, but yes, we are here and we're actually going to try out Blue Eyes Fiendsmith, which is a bit of an interesting take. Now, what I will say is that the Fiendsmith portion of the deck doesn't really necessarily bridge into the Blue Eyes stuff, but the Blue Eyes stuff can necessarily bridge into the Fiendsmith because we have Moon of the Closed Sky, which just basically puts two monsters on field that can turn into full Fiendsmith combo. And we know that this engine is going to get hit at some point, but because I control the cards, I don't have the Primate stuff. I'm just going to abuse them for what they are until they get hit on the ban list, and I don't think they're going to get hit that significantly, but maybe that's a discussion for another day. Anyway, let's get straight into the list. Now, obviously, I took a little bit of inspiration from Dan and the boys over at Sanctum Squad. Really appreciate the profile, Dan. And shout out to the boys at Sanctum Squad. I'll leave a link in the description to their channel below. But anyway, we are here. Blue Eyes. So we're playing double Blue Eyes White Dragon and the one Jet Dragon. Again, a bit similar to Dan's profile. I was always looking to play this anyway, but I do think like the Jet Dragon does have a little bit of merit, especially with Detonator in the format. It just prevents destruction of your other cards, which is really useful. And it can jump out of the hand or grave when a monster battles and bounce a card when it battles itself. So very, very useful tech. You can get it out of your deck a couple of ways. Most notably Spheres, which is a little bit of a spoiler alert. Moving on, obviously we're going for max consistency for the Blue Eye stuff, so we're playing triple Sage with Eyes of Blue, 3 different rarities just to trigger my opponent. You know how it goes. Searches a light level 1 spellcaster, which could potentially be a Veiler if you've already got set up, or it could be your Maiden of White, which we're also playing 3 copies of. Yeah, this is pretty standard, pretty straightforward. You want to kind of like get the loop going as quickly as possible. Next for the spells, playing Triple Wishes. This is the biggest ash bait in the deck. It's gonna happen. People are gonna ash this because it nets you so much advantage. So definitely something to keep it in mind. If you're looking to resolve this first and you've got no other plays, just be prepared to meet an Ash Blossom because it's just too good of a target. We're also playing 1 Mausoleum of White as well as the 1 Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragon. Nice little tech. As well as the 1 True Light, obviously, and the 1 Majesty of White Dragons. What I quite like, and I don't know if you noticed this, but a lot of the decks that I play are quote-unquote mid-rangey, mainly because I do like combo decks, but sometimes I don't like going all in on a combo and having no follow-up. At least with the mid-rangey type decks, you've got a bit more follow-up and you can play a little bit more of a control style game as well as being slightly more explosive. So with Blue Eyes, because the monsters are just so big, you can just explode on your opponent on the crackback basically and just kill your opponent. But you can also play a little bit more methodical and play a bit more of a grind game, which is something that I quite enjoy. Moving on to the Fiendsmith stuff, this is just bug standard at this point. We're going triple Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Lurry, double Tracked, as well as the 1 Fiendsmith in Paradise. Just the standard Fiendsmith package, ladies and gents. Nothing too special. You know how it goes. Fiendsmith does Fiendsmith things. Again, this engine is definitely going to get hit at some point. It's going to get touched in some way, shape or form. So put it that way. Then onto the non-engine, probably what I like most about this deck. Now, there are 2 ways you can play it. You can play a board breaker version if you really wanted to, but I always think prevention is better than cure. And with even rogue decks just absolutely have the ability to just go off and not allow you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like having hand traps is probably the most or the safest way to interact with your opponent to give you a chance of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Going second. And it's also good if you can manage to pull off some sort of a combo and have hand traps as well as the threats on field. So very, very useful. So triple Ash Blossom goes without saying. This is for Mo Charmers. It's just the best hand trap in the game. It covers the most ground. I fail to see a time when this is not going to be useful in some way, shape or form. There are the odd 1 or 2 formats, but for the most part, you're playing Ash Blossom, ladies and gents, even if you're not really playing hand traps. Triple Veiler, again, this can be actually a starter and it can also be searched. The reason why I went for 3 was just for that reason. I wanted to be able to have some flexibility, and in this deck, because it's got usage for both going first and second, I felt like it was a useful inclusion. Obviously, if I had well, once I've tested this at locals, once I take it to locals, I could potentially see myself dropping this down to like 1, maybe 2, and slide it in, I don't know, maybe a ghost ogre or something along those lines, or even a bow, just because bestials are everywhere. So I've gone with the 3 Veiler. It seems to be working out for me at the moment. Also, triple Nibiru. Again, I am quite an advocate for playing 2, but this deck has got 2 1-card combos. One of them being the Fiendsmith stuff, the other one being the Maiden of White. So being able to just stop your opponent, or just like let your opponent burn for a few resources and then nibbing them, is just so useful, ladies and gents. It's unbelievable. And especially with this deck, it just combos off with 1 card. Like you're never really going to be in a bad position seeing a Nibiru. So moving on, we've got triple infinite impermanence. Again, this just goes without saying. It is a hand trap that does not necessarily play into triple tactics, talents, or thrust, which I do believe needs to get touched in some way, shape, or form. Just talents. Talents is just silly. Talents is talents. We are playing the 1 Bestial Magnum and the 1 Jerusalem, again, just for some interaction. Again, Jerusalem, you can tutor out with Magnum. You can actually tutor out your Jet Dragon, which can be quite useful at times, and then use your Jet Dragon as a pitch off of the wishes. So a nice little bit of an interaction there. And it also helps to get rid of Detonator with Jerusalem Send, because you can link these into Moon of the Closed Sky and then send it with Jerusalem. So quite useful. I am actually playing 1 talents, funny enough. I'm not saying I'm a hypocrite. I recognize the power of this card. I used to be really good and a real good advocate for playing 2, but I found myself bricking on it so much, it's just unbelievable. So as a bit of a one-off, like if I see, it's always a bonus, and if I don't see, then it is what it is. But I will never ever see 2 in my opening hand, which can prevent me from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically, I'd rather see other things. So that's why I've gone for the 1 talents, and this is probably going to be my notion going forward, unless there's a reason for me to put in 3. Maybe if I'm going second in any capacity, I might even include another 1 or 2. But triple tactics talents at 1 for me seems to be working out. And then finally, we're playing the 1 Core by the Grave. I think this card is very, very nice for hitting engine cards. Yes, it protects against hand traps, which is what we know it's supposed to do. But there's been a few times when I've used this card in other decks and I've hit, like, I don't know, a key engine piece that goes to the grave. I don't know, Alistair the Evoker, for example, Maiden of White, for example. Just being able to hit those engine cards and just prevent your opponent from playing is just super useful. So that is it for the main deck, ladies and gents. Pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward. 2 engines, a bunch of hand traps, and you are good to go. Moving on, we have the extra deck. So I'm playing Double Spirit with Eyes of Blue. I'm also playing the 1 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. If anyone has an ultra rare and they want to free some up, feel free to contact me and let me know, because it seems a bit weird in the extra deck, but yeah, it is what it is. 1 Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, which is just, I like this card. You can actually play without this card. You got Blue Eyes, which is on field, which is just massive. But this card clears boards in a game state which can be unfavorable to yourself. If you've blown through a few of your resources and you manage to get a Blue Eyes back on field, you can actually go into this via its summoning condition and just attack over all your opponent's monsters, which is super useful. And it sets 1 trap that's in graveyard, and it doesn't specifically have to be any type of trap. It's just a trap. So you can set back your continuous trap, you can set back any of the traps that have used, the pops, infinite impermanence, anything. So I do quite like this card, and just because it's a big monster, it can clear a field and put you in a nice position going forward. Moving on, we've got double Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, as well as the 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. You're probably never ever going to summon this card by its own effect. Well, you're never going to summon this card properly, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's literally hitting the board for a 1-time negate and then it's gone. So yeah, that's literally all it's for. And then we are playing the 1 FTK in a card, which is Heavenly Seal of Heavenly Spheres. Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, sorry. Yeah, it's just spheres, just a solid card. And then obviously the rest of the stuff is just all of the Fiendsmith stuff. So we've got 1 sequence, we've got 1 moon, We've got one Requiem for the Link monsters. For the fusion monsters, obviously, we've got one Necro Crypt Princess, as well as the one Fiendsmith Desiree. And then finishing it off, we've got the DD High Wave King Caesar and the Chaos Angel. Now, the High Wave King Caesar is quite useful because there are times when you will just like combo off, and it's a nice check for nib. It also keeps the resources in your graveyard for your Fiendsmith engine, because if you do go into Desiree, you kind of get rid of a lot of your grind game for the power of the unfilled effect. But I do think turn one, it's probably more preferable to make the High Wave King Caesar, just to be able to obviously play around nib. And it's just a disgusting interruption going first. Like a double solemn warning is just crazy. So I'll say solemn warning, just a summon negate is absolutely crazy, whether that be spout or trap. So yeah, doesn't interact well with some of the Rizio monsters because of their inherent summons, but it is what it is. And Chaos Angel, obviously, Chaos Angel is just Chaos Angel. Like sometimes you can make him with the light and the dark, and you can look closely into your opponent's eyes and just stare at them and say the magic words, have you got the out? Because if not, this card's just going to beat over everything, and then you eventually just dwindle your opponent out of resources and can close that game. So yeah. So that is it for the extra deck, ladies and gents. Whilst we're here, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, which I wanted to do and should start doing, which is just one simple combo, just to kind of like showcase what the deck can do. So give me a moment here.
A few moments later.
Okay, ladies and gents, so I apologize for the lighting, trying to sort this out, but it is what it is. So anyway, this is a 2-card combo. It's very, very basic. I think there are some 1-card combos, but I've yet to kind of like discover some of the lines. As I said, I've put this together and I'm actually just going through the motions with the deck. So let's not waste any time. Let's just get straight into the combo. So we'll start off with our normal summon of Sage. Activate Sage effect to search a light level 1 spellcaster. Now bear in mind, ladies and gents, to do this, you would need another light level 1 spellcaster just because of the field spell. So we'll search Maiden of White, that's in our hand now. Then we're gonna link off the Sage, and then go straight into our Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Spirit on summon will search the field spell, which is kind of integral to be able to kind of like resolve the rest of this combo, just because we need the extra bodies. We'll activate the field spell. Field spell will activate its effect to target the Spirit and dump a Blue Eyes White Dragon. So we will dump a Blue Eyes. Now we are locked into dragons at the moment, ladies and gents, so that's something that we do need to bear in mind. So next we'll pitch the Maiden of White to be able to activate our True Light. Well, I'll say not activate, but place it straight up on the field from deck. Then we will activate Spirit with Eyes of Blue, targeting Blue Eyes engraved, so attribute itself. Summon back the Blue Eyes. You can summon it in defense or attack, it's not really a problem. And then in this chain, we'll activate a new chain, we'll activate Maiden of White, who will summon herself. Then we will normal summon our light spellcaster. In this instance, it's effect failure, just to kind of like illustrate the combo. And then we will link the Maiden and the effect failure off. And then we will go into our Moon of the Closed Sky. And you know where it goes from here, ladies and gents. Just full Fiendsmith combo, basically. So we'll link that off. Activate effect of Requiem. Requiem is going to summon... where I can find that. Lacrima, dump Engraver. Then you've got a few choices. Obviously, if you go in second, you can Engraver and go and hard make a Chaos Angel. Chances are though, ladies and gents, if you're not going second, you're not going to be going into this on your first turn combo. So we'll just do the usual Fiendsmith stuff and end on a Caesar. So we'll go Necro Crypt by equipping the Requiem to the Lacrima, and this also sets up the follow-up Engrave. Obviously we know how all this goes already, ladies and gents. So we'll summon the Necro Crypt, and then we'll go Engraver to put back the Moon. Engraver summon, then we'll overlay, and we'll make our DDD High Wave King Caesar. And this is quote unquote our end board. Now you got a few options from here, ladies and gents. You could potentially go into another blue eyes by summoning a roar, so you can activate your true light and you can set either the roar of the blue eyes or where's it gone? If I can find it, the majesty of the white dragons. It's entirely up to you, ladies and gents, and obviously it's depending on what's in your hand. If you've got a lot of hand traps, then I'll probably go a little bit more conservative and just set the majesty of the white dragons, because this is quite a formidable field. You've got the High Wave King Caesar, which is obviously a double summon negate. You've got Lacrima and Requiem in graveyard to get the send off the Fiendsmith Paradise. And then you've got Blue Eyes White Dragon on field as a big chump blocker, so you can actually pop a card with Majesty of the White Dragons. However, if your hand isn't stacked the best and you want some kind of follow-up, you can activate Roar, and then you can roar out the second Blue Eyes. Now, obviously, you're locked into dragons from the extra deck now, so Roar will go to the grave. You can link those two off and make the FTK card itself, which is Heavenly Spheres. So you got Spheres, you've got High Wave King Caesar, and you've got the Fiendsmith stuff in graveyard and whatever else is in your hand. Now, obviously, you've seen the profile, so there's going to be quite a few hand traps in there, ladies and gents, and hopefully you've drawn like one or two of them just to kind of like supplement the board. But as I said, you've got a few options. There are a few junctions to be able to kind of like make a decision. So very, very interesting. It is quite flexible. I like the fact that you can just get the blue eyes out and just be beating your opponent for game just because it's 3000 attack. So yeah, fun times. But anyway, if there are any combos that you know that you've done with like Blue Eyes Fiendsmith, please let me know in that comment section below. I'm always down to hear new ideas and texts and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, we find ourselves at the end of another video. If you do like this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.